Welcome to configuring Cisco ISE for Tellabs Optical LAN. In this video, we will discuss the process for configuring the Cisco ISE system to interface with the Tellabs Optical LAN OLT. The topics covered in this video will be an overview of how security policy is enforced on OLAN using Cisco ISE and a step-by-step procedure on how to configure Cisco ISE for Tellabs Optical LAN systems. The sample configuration in this video shows one example of how to configure ISE to interoperate with Tellabs OLAN. This video only details configuration of components that are unique to Tellabs Optical LAN. It does not cover full configuration of Cisco ISE. Cisco ISE documentation should always be consulted first to get the latest up-to-date information about configuration of ISE features. Cisco ISE, or Identity Services Engine, is an application that is able to characterize systems that are discovered on the network and apply policies based on rule sets. This provides more consistent application of policy across the network. It also allows application of policy based on the user login or device type, which provides dynamic configuration and allocation of resources in real time. The Tellabs Optical LAN system has added support for integration with Cisco ISE in software release 29.2 and above. OLT release prior to 29.2 can be used, but only for simple 802.1x and granting of access to the network. Also, since software release 29.2 added support for MAB authentication for phones and 802.1x authentication for PCs on the same port, it is typically best to have release 29.2 or above. The Optical LAN PAE or Port Authentication Entity interfaces with Cisco ISE for two different protocols: Radius, or Remote Authentication Dial-In User Service, and Change of Authorization. COA is an extension of the Radius protocol to allow additional updates to a port. Unlike Radius, COA allows updates to the port in real time. COA supports these messages for additional control: session reauthentication for forced reauthentication of a port, session termination, which allows terminating a user immediately from the network, session termination with port shutdown. This terminates a session and shuts off the port afterwards. This prevents further access after the session is terminated from that port. Admin is required to manually admin the port back up before it can be used again. Session termination with port bounce terminates the session and disables and then re-enables the port to restart authentication and restart with a new session. And session policy push. Here, COA can push a new policy to a port at any time. This allows changes to take effect immediately rather than waiting for the next reauthentication attempt from the port. The process followed in this video is documented in the Engineering App Note 010562, Interfacing with Cisco ISE. The document can be found on the Nexus website at nexus.tellabs.com. This document can also be found on the Cisco ISE configuration community page. Go to communities.cisco.com/community/technology/security/PA/ISE and search for the file tellabs wired nad config.pdf. To configure ISE for use with the Tellabs Optical LAN system, the following steps need to be followed. First, verify that the policy sets function is enabled. Then import the Tellabs Radius dictionary. Import the Tellabs network device profile. Create a network device group. Create a network access device and associate it with the network device group. Create an authentication compound condition. And then finally, add a new policy set. Once you're logged into ISE, the first step is to verify that the policy set feature is enabled. This is done to separate policies so that the Tellabs policy set can be created for Tellabs network devices that can authenticate and authorize endpoints using its unique policy authorization profiles. To do this, go to Administration, System, Settings, Policy Sets. Click on Enabled and save. You'll be logged out. To continue, log back into ISE. In later versions of Cisco ISE, the Tellabs Dictionary and Network Device Profile will be included in the ISE install. If your Cisco ISE instance does not include the Tellabs Radius Dictionary and NDP, it will need to be imported. You can determine if the Tellabs Dictionary is loaded by going to Policy, Policy Elements, Dictionaries. Then expand the System folder, Radius, and double-click on Radius Vendors. Look for Tellabs. A zip file that contains a Tellabs Radius Dictionary, a Tellabs ISE Network Device Profile, and a Tellabs Icon PNG image can be located on the Nexus website, nexus.tellabs.com. Search for Cisco ISE file.zip. This zip file can also be found on the Cisco ISE NAD profile community page. Go to communities.cisco.com/tags/ISE NAD profile. Search for the file tellabswired.zip. It should be noted that Tellabs OLAN is being added to the current and future releases of ISE. At that time, you will not need to import these files. To import the dictionary file into ISE, again, go to the Radius vendor list. Click on the Import button, and then choose the dictionary.tellabs file that was downloaded and add it to Cisco ISE. You should then see the Tellabs dictionary listed in the Radius vendor list. Next, ISE should be configured to add a network device profile for Tellabs. Tellabs OLAN is being added to the Cisco ISE in a later release. If the version of ISE that you are using already has the Tellabs NDP configured, this step can be skipped. If you downloaded the zip file with the Tellabs Radius Dictionary, you also have the Tellabs ISE Network Device Profile.xml file. Follow these steps to import this file into Cisco ISE. Go to Administration, Network Resources, Network Device Profiles. Click on Import and use the browser to find the Tellabs ISE Network Device Profile.xml file. The COA port is configurable in the network device profile. The default here is 3799. This port is used if the ISE deployment model consists of a single node that provides administration, monitoring, and policy service. If the ISE deployment model has PANs, or policy administration nodes, for high availability, and PSNs, or policy service nodes, then the COA port must be set to 1700 for ISE versions 2.0, 2.1, 2.2, and 2.3. Next, create a network device group. The Tellabs OLAN network device group will be used when creating a network access device to associate them with this group for authentication and authorization. To do this, go to Administration, Network Resources, Network Device Groups, All Device Types. Add a network device group for Tellabs OLAN. Provide a name and a description for the group. Click Submit. Next, create a network access device and associate it with the new group. These network access devices will be the OLTs in your network. Go to Administration, Network Resources, Network Device. Click on Add and enter the appropriate information for the Tellabs OLT. This should include the IP address, the device profile created in the previous step, the device type, and any authentication settings for Radius and SNMP. The COA port in the Radius settings is configurable and must match both the network device profile and the Tellabs OLT's Dynamic Authorization Client UDP port. Next, create an authentication compound condition that references the network device group. This allows you to associate a policy set with a specific Tellabs OLT instance which was specified in the network device's device type. This allows separate treatment of policy for Tellabs OLAN and more specifically for specific OLT instances. To do this, go to Policy, Policy Elements, Conditions, Authentication, Compound Condition. Click on Add. Enter a name for the authentication compound condition. Then click on Create New Condition. Click on Select Attribute. Click on Device and choose Device Type. In the far right pull-down, choose All Device Types, Tellabs OLAN, and then Submit. Add a new policy set named Tellabs OLAN and associate the condition with the new authentication compound condition. To do this, select Policy, Policy Sets. Highlight Default. Click the Add icon and select Create Above. Enter a policy name. Update the description to Policy Set for Tellabs Switches. Click Conditions. Select Existing Condition from Library. Click Select Condition. Select Compound Condition, Tellabs OLAN. If you want to copy any of the default policy rules to Policy Set Tellabs OLAN, highlight the Tellabs OLAN policy set. Click on the icon to copy policy rules. Here you can select the desired authentication and authorization policy rules. This concludes this video. In it, you have learned an overview of how security policy is enforced on OLAN using Cisco ISE, and a step-by-step procedure on how to configure Cisco ISE for Tellabs Optical LAN systems.